Hello and welcome to Twist List. Today we are looking at 10 lesser-known Celtic leaders who fought the Romans. When it comes to Celtic leaders who defended their land from the encroaching Romans, one figure instantly comes to mind, the famous war queen Boudicca and her equally famous, and sometimes historically inaccurate, chariot. It's easy to assume that she was the only Celtic leader to rally against the invaders. In actual fact, there are several others who haven't achieved nearly the same fame as Boudicca. The Romans were efficient and ruthless, so fighting them was no easy feat. As such, not every Celtic leader who went against the Romans had a happy ending. Regardless, here are 10 leaders who dared challenge the might of Rome in the name of the Celts. At number 10 we have Boudicca. Boudicca was the leader of the Nervii people. His name translates to he who was born of the battle crow, which tells you what kind of person he was. Boudicca was one of the few leaders who came close to defeating Caesar in the battlefield. In the Battle of the Sabines, he led some 40,000 Celts, with 60,000 more hidden in a nearby forest, against 8 of Caesar's legions, 2 of which consisted of the baggage train. During the battle, the 40,000 Celts fled into the forest, hoping to draw the Romans in, but they didn't give chase. That didn't stop the Celts, who then gave a surprise charge that took Caesar's forces off guard. The Romans acted quickly to get into a defensive stance and managed to turn the tide, but it was a Pyrrhic victory at best. The 9th spot on the list is occupied by Vercingetorix. Vercingetorix lived from 82 to 46 BC and was the chieftain of the Arverni. His name translates to the very ambitious victor of 100 battles. Vercingetorix put himself on the Celtic timeline when he arranged a rebellion to stop Caesar from subjugating the people of Gaul. Not much is known about Vercingetorix's life before his revolt. Even his name was given to him after he came into the spotlight. His real name was kept secret, as the Celts believed that knowing someone's real name gave the enemy power. Vercingetorix would use his forces to disrupt Roman trade lines and goad fights in his favor, but he fumbled when he lost a battle and fled. Caesar countered with a siege against Vercingetorix's fortress. Vercingetorix was taken to Rome to show off Caesar's prowess, before being executed 6 years later. Number 8 on our list is Carracticus, king of the Kvasev Ilana. Carracticus led his army with his brother. Combined, they helped to stave off the Roman armies for almost 9 years. His own forces were outnumbered by the Romans, so he drew out the conquest by picking spots that were easy to defend and worked to repel the oncoming forces for as long as he could. He was regarded as a hero even after he lost the battle against Asturias Scapula in AD 51 and was captured. Even after his capture, Carracticus caught a break. He was well known for his character, which played an important part when he was brought before Claudius for trial in Rome. His heart-capturing final speech caused Claudius to pardon him for his actions. He and his family lived the rest of their lives in Italy. At number 7 we have Ambiorix. Ambiorix was nothing short of a slippery character. Leader of the Eburones tribe, he managed to get on the good side of a legion and half of Caesar's troops. He used the insider information gleaned to start a revolt and attack the camp. When the attack failed, he managed to convince the camp that the revolts were widespread, Caesar had fled Gaul, and that Germans were on the way to massacre the Romans. The camp fled, only to be nearly wiped out in an ambush set up for them. It was Caesar's worst loss in the Gallic War, so he wanted revenge. He wiped out the rebels, leaving Ambiorix for last. Ambiorix knew he was severely outnumbered, so when the Romans came for him, he simply told his army to spread out and flee. He hid in the woods, never to be seen again. Number 6 on the list is Kvasev Ilana. Kvasev Ilana played a vital role in opposing Caesar during his second invasion against the Celts. Caesar had learned from his mistakes during his first invasion, so instead of bringing 2 legions, he brought 5. This was, obviously, a giant problem for the Celts, so they weren't very confident in managing the Romans in a straight fight. Kvasev Ilana responded by denying Caesar a proper fight, instead backpedaling into the woods and making guerrilla strikes against the forces. The Romans made heavy use of chariots, which Kvasev Ilana made sure to capitalize on in his surprise attacks. Kvasev Ilana would eventually have his stronghold ratted out by other captured Celtic leaders. His stronghold fell to the Romans, and Kvasev Ilana fled. He tried one last attack on a Roman camp, but he failed and sued for surrender. He had to promise not to wage war against the Romans again but was otherwise left alone. The 5th spot on the list is occupied by Ambiorix. Ambiorix was the leader of an anti-Roman faction in the Aedui tribe, which was mostly allied with Caesar. He joined Vercingetorix and his Helvetii as they migrated from modern Switzerland to France. Caesar wasn't too pleased with this and denied them travel across his lands. Ambiorix got permission from the Sequani to cross their lands, where pro-Romae lived. Caesar didn't like this, so he cut off Ambiorix with the Battle of the Ara. Even worse, the pro-Romae had taken poorly to Ambiorix and attacked, meaning that he had to fight two different forces. The Romans managed to defeat some of the Helvetian forces, so the armies settled into negotiations. However, they fell apart. Ambiorix continued the migration, but the Romans shadowed them. He was eventually taken hostage by Caesar. He was killed after he tried to flee the camp in which he was kept. Number 4 on the list is Kvasev. Kvasev came into the picture when he and Kotos fought over leadership of the Aedui tribe. Caesar helped Kvasev to win in hopes that he'd help fight against Vercingetorix, but Kvasev told Caesar that he did not owe him anything, something that would bite Caesar later on. When Caesar led his army against Vercingetorix in a siege of Gergovia, he expected Kvasev to help him. Instead, Kvasev revealed his true colors and aided Vercingetorix midway into the fight, catching Caesar unaware and causing him to lose the battle entirely. It was one of the few times where Caesar had been simply outdone. At the third place we have Vercingetorix. Vercingetorix, or Britomartis, depending on translation, was a Gallic king in 222 BC. Not much is known about him, other than how he attacked the Roman village of Clastidium. Unfortunately for him, a particularly successful Roman cavalry leader named M. Claudius Marcellus caught wind of his attack. Marcellus redirected his army to Clastidium and attacked Vercingetorix's forces from the front and then from the sides and rear, which broke Vercingetorix's army. Trying to make something good of a bad situation, Vercingetorix challenged Marcellus to single-mounted combat. Marcellus accepted and won the duel, which earned Marcellus a spolia opima, spoils from a slain commander, for killing a Gallic king. At the second spot is Vinicius. Vinicius was king of the Brigantes, along with his wife, Queen Carracticus. When Carracticus arrived at Brigantium to find support against the Romans, Carracticus responded by capturing him and turning him over to Caesar. Vinicius disliked this move, and when Carracticus divorced him for his armor-bearer, Velicatus, he began a revolt that was initially against Carracticus but then escalated into an anti-Roman cause. The Romans stepped in, quelled the revolt, and brought the couple back together again. Vinicius wasn't done, however. During the Roman year of 4 emperors, AD 68 to 69, the Roman government was unstable. Using this weakness, Vinicius staged another revolt. Carracticus asked Rome for aid but got only auxiliary units. She was eventually overthrown by Vinicius, who acted as a thorn in Rome's side until his defeat. And finally, at number 1, Brennus. We've already covered a war leader named Brennus, see 10 forgotten conquerors from ancient history. This is a different Brennus, who appeared in the 4th century AD and fought against the Romans. Brennus has an especially large claim to fame, since he was the first commander to sack Rome. He commanded his forces in the Battle of the Ilia over Rome, which ended in Brennus's victory and the Gallic Celts managing to secure a large majority of the city. The Romans negotiated Brennus' lead with 450 kilograms, 1,000 pounds, of gold. Brennus responded by using overly heavy weights on the scales used to measure the gold and then threw his own sword atop the weights and said, "Va victis," or woe to the vanquished. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, then please hit the subscribe button.